Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
Every time, always laugh.
We are talking about a card from the core set. Yes, we're going right back to the beginning with what was one of my favourite tactics heroes. He's 11 cost, 2 across all his stats, and 5 hit points. It's Gimli, a dwarf noble warrior, and Gimli gets +1 attack for each damage token on him.
How much does this give you nostalgia for the Hill Troll with 2, and then Gimli with 2 Citadel plates? You know, like
so much.
Yeah, I mean that was the way of beating the Hill Troll. Apart from Sneak Attack Gandalf, right? Sneak Attack Gandalf would loosen him up a little, and then you would swing with Gimli, and the Hill Troll was done.
Just high unexpected Citadel Plate on him, and Gimli just tanks everything with undefended hit.
Yeah, right. And you wouldn't worry about anything. Nowadays, there's a lot more elegant ways to chop up the Hill Troll, but, you know, if anybody's just getting into the game now, you know, that's a really good way to do it. It's hard to get 4 leadership or 4 tactics resources. So, you know, I remember playing this two-handed, and I would have to put the Steward of Gondor onto Gimli, so he could get the Citadel Plate on. But I don't know. Gimli is still a very, very good hero. You know, his leadership version hero is no, I don't know. I like it. It's fine. It's meant to, I guess, his leadership version is supposed to go with Legolas. So that's the drawback is that but I love that he gets more and more. I love that the tactics version, he gets more and more enraged. The more damaged he gets.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that damage increase on Boromir, but
oh my god, Boromir already has his own. But so I mean, the Citadel Plate is really like the classic combo with Gimli. But there's other ways to boost him. You know, there's there's Boots from Erebor, which is a 0 cost neutral card. Give him 1 hit point. That's good. That's really good, actually. Well, you know that I love Boots from Erebor anyways, but that's another classic episode that we did. Raiment of War can go on this guy.
Ringmail's always good.
Ringmail is very good. Other cards that I think pair really nicely with Tactics Gimli, I think that the Dwarven Axe over the Dwarven Axe is probably the thing to do. The Dwarven Axe, when it defends, it does 1 damage. When you attack, it does 1 damage to the enemy no matter what. And that's, to me, it's a 1 cost. That's good on Gimli. I mean, that's good on any dwarf. So,
Hardy Leadership is brilliant for Gimli.
What does Hardy Leadership do?
That gives attached to a leadership hero, each dwarf character gets +1 hit point.
Right. And then you can even do some of the shenanigans where you damage your own hero to get a bonus.
Valiant Guard.
Valiant Guard. What does that card do?
Attached character gets +2 hit points. Response: when another character would be assigned any amount of damage, place 1 of that damage on attached character instead.
Yeah, I mean that's good for Gimli. What's another?
I'm just looking at ways to boost HP at the minute. End draft and if you're playing Saga, skilled healer.
Right. Ent draft is good on because that's two hit points in lore. In terms of his stats, I mean, of course, there's the low hanging fruit of being able to, buff his defense and then buff his hit points and then being able to attack for a boatload. But early game, a dwarf with two willpower is pretty good. I think that's a pretty decent, especially in tactics. I don't know how many. There's not very many dwarves that have more than 2 willpower. Thorin is one, but so that's pretty good. And then mid to late game, those stats kind of get overshadowed by his attack, because eventually you're going to want Gimli swinging for 10 all by himself. I think he's brilliant for the early for being an early core set card, because I think he's good in all phases of the game. He's good early game, he's good mid game, he's good late game, and I think that he's really that. A lot of times, I guess what I'm trying to say, a lot of times is that when you have stats 2-2-2, they go to waste, right? And so here, early game, you can defend with him because you're going to want to give him some damage, right? So that's cool. You can damage him, or you can have him quest early on because, like I said, 2 willpower tactics dwarf. That's really good. And then late game, by the time he's buffed up, he's swinging at everything. The only thing that I wish he had was ranged, but I can see why he's not ranged. You can give him ranged, but
I was just thinking of something really stupidly funny just now with Gimli. If you're running a 3 or more player game and you have Gimli, someone else has Dane, and someone else has Theoden tactics.
Which Dane?
Leadership Dane, purple
okay.
Dane. You could get Gimli up to 4 willpower just on 3 heroes.
Right. Oh yeah. Like you could run that yourself. You don't even need three player. You could do that yourself.
Yeah, but then you're running at a threat of
like a bajillion. Well, 11 plus 12 plus what's Dine is 12 too, so 35 threat.
35 threat. That's kind of high.
Well, and one of the things in that early core set thing, and so for new players, Gimli is one of the few heroes that can take a hill troll attack without dying.
Yep.
And I think that was on purpose too, because the hill troll was the big baddie in there, other than the Nazgul. But the hill troll is kind of the one everybody always comes back to, and if Gimli can take a swing from the hill troll without dying, I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is definitely get some HP boosting, because those Pommer horns are going to wreck your game.
When I only owned the core set, maybe a couple of the APs from the Mirkwood cycle, Gimli was a go-to hero for me because of that ability. +1 attack for each damage token on him. And then as the card pool expanded, it's not that I didn't think that he got worse. It's that it got to the point where Gimli became win versus win more. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, you can only, if you put 2 Citadel plates on Gimli, that means that he's got 13 hit points and he can swing for 12 or something like that every turn. Very few enemies need 12 to kill. So then it becomes more of a game where you're saying, okay, what can I put in my deck that's going to help me win in specific parts of the game, rather than being able to swing for 12 with Gimli because he's got 2 Citadel plates on him. And so that's really what what ended up happening with me. It became a win versus win more thing.
Me and my dad played with Gimli right up until the Heirs of Numenor, I'd like to say. So we completed the Shadows of Mirkwood. We completed the Dwarf.
Yeah, I mean, he was powerful in Dwardelf. I mean, there's Khazad, and there's all the attachments that help with dwarves and things like that. Like the Dwardelf axe and things like that. So,
and Lure of Moria and Bean and all those good things. But I think it came down for me and my dad was we wanted to change because obviously we're just getting the Hobbit cards or was using the Hobbit cards online, and it was like, well, all of them focused mainly around dwarves, and it was like, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to use some of these new Gondor cards and Outlands cards, or do we just want to go with the tried and true dwarf smash? And it was like, well, let's turn it up. We'll try things out. I mean, Gimli is definitely, for me, a go-to hero when I'm considering a dwarf deck. And then you'll go, right, okay, do I need access to tactics in this dwarf deck? Do I need access to over-the-top killing in this dwarf deck? If I need over-the-top killing, do I go for Gimli or do I go for Erebor Battlemaster? And I'll be going back and forth for what I do because of the fact that Gimli is such a high cost, but in the early game of the Lord of the Rings, he was phenomenal.
Said, I mean, it was an easy card to play with. That's the other thing. Like, you didn't need to necessarily have a PhD in deck construction to understand how to take full advantage of his ability. Actually, the version of Gimli that I like even more now in a dwarf deck is his ally version. I love the ally leadership Gimli in a dwarf deck. I think it's a little more reasonable.
Yeah,
but I love this Gimli.
I think with the new, if you're the type of person who finds tactics resources hard to come by, and you've got access to spirit as well as tactics, Erebor Toymaker with Gimli and Citadel Plate may be the way to go for you. Because
the toy maker reduces the cost of the next by two, right? Or even if you play with who is it, Hirgon?
Yeah.
Or there's the Long Lake Trader and the Dale, all those, the Dale archetype where you can trade stuff around and give people all sorts of stuff. Those are really good things to play with Gimli too.
I mean, even if you're wanting a dwarf that swings for a lot, you've got the Erebor Battlemaster now.
Right. In a dwarf deck, you can get that Erebor Battlemaster to swing for, 8 pretty easily.
I've seen my partner have the Battlemaster swing for 15.
Right.
And then she's got 3 of them on the table. And
so what's the purpose of Gimli then in that deck?
Exactly.
Nothing really, other than just providing another dwarf, So I think
fighting a dwarf because of the fact that the errata version of the Battlemaster is dwarf ally.
Right. He doesn't even buff the Battlemaster. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, it always comes down to win versus win more. And
for this guy, it does.
Yeah, but also if you're not a one for factoring in score, or if you do factor in score, you're not going to want all that damage piled on Gimli because that reduces your score. If you're focusing on the score element of things, it's one of these catch-22 scenarios. And at the moment, with so many cards out there in the card pool, Gimli's been pretty much overshadowed by some of his counterparts.
Right. So if you're a new player listening to this, I think that Gimli, whether you're playing 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player, he's the go-to smash 'em up hero. better than Aragorn, and he's fun to play. If you're an experienced veteran, you've probably definitely drifted from Gimli, but I think that he makes a lot of sense in kind of more specific decks that may not even be the like a Dwarf Swarm deck. Could be something else. So maybe go back and see what you can do with Gimli. I mean, that noble trait has been getting a lot of love lately. With what is that, ancestral armor and things like that. So, there's things you can do with Gimli now.
Oh, definitely. There's always something you can do. I think it's something for people to think about. What can we do to make a deck with Tactics Gimli work well without falling back on old habits?
Should we ring this guy? Is that what you just said?
Yep.
Okay. For anybody new to us, we have a scientific yet highly arbitrary system where we ring every card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, and 10 is the trash bin. And so, Grant, what do you think of Hero Gimli? I have to say Hero Tactics Gimli from the core set. What do you think?
I used to love Tactics Gimli. If I'm ever doing a progression style playthrough, he's always one of me top in for the Shadows of Mirkwood. He's always in the top tier. But because of the fact that the card pool is so now expanded and he's fallen a few runs and he's just a basic hack and slash hero, I'm giving him a 4 rings.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, he is a great hero. I love him. There's a lot of nostalgia in my heart for him.
Definitely.
Because of all the hill troll things that you do and the Citadel plates and stuff. But I think the kind of, I don't know, the logical side of me has to say that, he's got to stay at 4 rings, because while he's really great, he's not necessarily the go-to tactics hero like Tactics Eowyn is or something, so.
No,
and even in Dwarf Swarms.
He's definitely not as high up as he once was.
Right. Yep, but he's still awesome, and he's still so much fun to play with. Yeah. Okay, everybody, join us next time as we spend a little more time talking about cards from the game. Have a great day. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube, where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself, or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.